In 5th grade, I went to a week-long adventure camp where one of the activities was spelunking. Now, I've always been a tall person, or child, I guess, I don't know, and I didn't realize how much that would freak me out until my camp counselors convinced me to go into a tunnel in the cave called the Birth Canal. Needless to say, when I was going through it, I ended up getting stuck, and I swear, I thought I never was going to get out. They had to calm me down for me to get through it, but I think ever since that point, I realized that I've had a fear of claustrophobia. As above, so below, praise on those of us who are claustrophobic. But I think that's what I love most about it. For me, a good horror builds up the suspense before it finally reaches its climax, and then utterly terrifies me. As above, so below is so good because it focuses intently on that buildup. In fact, the first death of the movie isn't actually even until 2/3 of the way through it. And that's the first release you get of all the tension, the unease, the creepiness that they've been building. Before that point, the first third of the movie has a masterful exposition sequence that feels almost like a National Treasure film, but only a little bit off, just enough to keep you on edge. Through the appearance of a hanging man in the beginning underground scene, a mysterious stranger who tells Scarlett, who's our main character, where she can find her catacomb crew and then promptly disappears mysteriously. And then there's also, we can't forget the strange woman who keeps appearing and attracting the focus of our camera guy, Benji. And then we eventually end up seeing her in the catacombs as they start their initial journey. The movie is constantly priming its audience to be alert and uneasy as Scarlett's group begins their descent. For me, part of what makes the movie so effective is its camera work. It's a classic shaky cam movie, and it kind of, with some found footage, and it kind of came out in an oversaturated market for those films. And that's why you can see a lot of reviews online that hate it or think it's like derivative or boring. But I'm telling you, don't listen to them. They're wrong. No, this is not your standard of found footage film that's just like, ooh, jump scares. No. The movie is told through the lens of a documentary that is currently being filmed about Scarlett and her search for the Philosopher's Stone. She had inherited this mission from her father, who spent his whole life searching for it up until the point when he killed himself. And we can tell that she is still deeply affected by his death. Every shot is either from the perspective of Benji, the camera guy or director of the documentary, or the people whose helmets he outfitted with personal cameras. So we see everything from a first-person perspective, and so that automatically puts us, the viewer, in the action and shoes of our group. I felt every moment in those cramped and tiny catacombs as they squeezed and crawled their way through tight crevices and tunnels. Which, believe me, not a good feeling, but I mean, in the context of a horror movie, that is a good feeling. The second part of the movie is where the unease really starts to intensify. As they begin their descent through the catacombs, they end up at a fork between a direct sealed route and a longer route. Their guide, Papillon, refuses to take them through that direct route that's sealed up, saying that it's been sealed up because bad things have happened to people who have gone through that tunnel. So he just refuses, point blank. Doesn't let them go through it. So they go through the long route. However, they surely end up right where they started, even though Papillon is like, no, there's no turns. So this is obviously the point where everything starts to go seriously wrong. The group immediately sees Pap's tag, and they're like, we thought you promised that you would never been in this tunnel. Pretty soon, the group starts hearing the ringing of a phone, something that makes no sense because they're very deep underground. Then they find a piano that looks exactly the same as one that George, who is Scarlett's friend, had as a kid, down to its broken A4 key. Obviously, everyone starts to think something is a little wrong at this point. Then they run into a friend of Pap and his teammate Suxi, La Taupe, which stands for the mole in English. So he went missing 2 years earlier after exploring the tunnel. He's speaking in an odd manner. He seems to mysteriously teleport further down randomly into the tunnel, and he keeps leading them deeper into the catacombs, and he tells them the only way up is to go down. So the further they go, the more you just feel, you become aware of their utter helplessness and inability to flee whatever trials are surely awaiting them. So as they face a sound-dampening tunnel, swimming passages where the end is unknown, impossibly long drops that they have to climb down, and tunnels that close behind them, the viewer's anxiously waiting for that moment that the constantly building tension will peak. And it does not come for so long. You're just stuck. You just have to feel this discomfort. It's something that I found so amazing on my first watch, and I just continue to love it and be so impressed by it on my recent rewatch. I don't want to give away too much of the ending, so I'll probably leave it there, but I love this movie. It's probably one of my favorites. I think it's so clever, so well thought out. It has an amazing build-up, and the scares don't just rely on unearned jump scares to build all the tension and the atmosphere. And it also has some fun meaning to analyze with the Philosopher's Stone and Dante's Inferno, if you're into that sort of thing. The movie is one of those horror movies where I can't stop thinking about it after I watch it. And it makes me feel like I need all the lights on in my house, even if my surroundings are nothing like the Paris catacombs, I live in a house, but I'm somehow like, oh gosh, what if it becomes a tunnel? Totally bonkers, but that's how you know it's good. But I would always watch this movie again in a heartbeat, even though it just terrifies me so much. I mean, that is why I watch horror. I just love it.